everybody, welcome back to That Geek Show, podcast for nerds and geeks out there, where we talk about all the things in pop culture, TV, movies, etc. And today, of course, gaming. But since there's no news right now, since we're all still in quarantine on the lockdown, we're doing another virtual podcast with some of the members here. I got Matt Grumman over here to my left, I guess it would be. Right?
Good evening.
Right?
Hello.
Katie Guerin underneath.
Ew.
And then Dan diagonal of me there. Dan Molnar. Welcome in, guys.
Everyone's in a line for me.
Dan on top of you? What is
Well,
I know he's a diagonal.
why we gotta do positions?
Well,
now?
because on mine,
Gotta
it's
do the
the
little
main
Brady
video
Bunch
feed.
thing, you know?
It's the main video
Yeah.
feed, so
Okay.
so everybody
we
knows
should rehearse this.
where it's at. Anyway, we have been doing a series of our top rewatchable movies, TV, and now this week we are doing our top replayable games of all time. So the games that we love to go back and just get right back into and replay over and over again because they just have such great replayable content and maybe just nostalgia and whatever the criteria is. We're going to dig into it and find out today. And so we have brought our top three, and we have a couple honorable mentions as well. So we're going to start with those honorable mentions, get them out of the way, talk about them real quick, and then we'll dive deep into our top three each. All right. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first since I actually have.
There's one
honorable mentions.
crossover, so
Yeah.
I'll mention the crossover when we get to it.
All right. I'll do my crossover, my honorable mentions. So the first honorable mention, it was hard to pick. The Assassin's Creed series overall, best series.
That's the crossover. So.
Is it really? It's an honorable mention for mine,
Okay.
and it's Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah, that's Matt's.
That
It's
is-
in Matt's list.
Is it really? All right.
That
We'll
is,
get to
yeah.
that. We'll get to that. We'll skip that one then.
And that was
Okay.
the one that I knew was going to get it. It's going to piss you off.
That's what I
know.
thought when I looked. I'm like, it's probably that one.
Yeah.
And then my other one, I couldn't pick one from the series because they're all so fun, and it's the Borderlands series. I'm playing through 3 right now, and I have myself like re-downloading 1, 2 pre-sequels and all the DLCs that went with them because Borderlands game is just it's fun. You get your action. It's very comic booky. You have so much comedy from like every character, even like the character you play as that you get occasional voice lines. They're very, very funny. And on top of that, it's just there's so many moments where like you can tell they're ripping something off from like a show or TV or whatever. Like there's Easter eggs or whatever that, and they do it in such a hilarious way where like you kind of always want to just go back and try to catch everything and then have more laughs. It's fun. It's like the whole series is a whole you can play through and enjoy every moment.
Yep. Awesome. I never got into the Borderlands stuff, so I mean, to each his own. Yeah, I know a lot of people love them. Like me and Matt's good friend Kirky.
It's my background right now. Like,
Yeah.
That's what I got going on.
So,
Everybody recommended me quite a lot, actually. I just never did pick it up myself. But although I did play the Tales from the Borderlands, the Telltale one.
Oh, yeah. So some
That
of
was
those
good.
characters actually
I
make an
enjoyed that.
appearance. Yeah, those ones make
Really?
some of those characters make an appearance in Borderlands 3 now. I wasn't aware because I didn't. That's
Okay.
the only one I have not played because I haven't played any of the Telltale's games. But that was some of those characters actually. I think all of them make an appearance in Borderlands 3.
Okay.
all right, Katie, did you have any honorable mentions you wanted to throw out there off the top of your head? I know you weren't prepared for it.
I guess
but-
I would just go with like the original Pokemon games. I guess I could always pick up where I left off and try and do something like the silver and gold and
Pokemon Snap. I know.
if we're gonna go GameCube games, I'm probably gonna go the Pokemon Gale of Darkness because I remember you could like steal the Shadow Pokemon or whatever, and I was like, oh heck yeah, I'm gonna be stealing all these people. Anyways,
All right, Team Rocket.
I mean, I was saving them from the baddies.
There was an article that came out about this woman she's played Pokemon since the originals, and every generation that you're able to trade your Pokemon to the new generation if you wanted, and so she's had the same Charizard all the way up to like right now, which is Sword and Shield, since when she first started playing on Pokemon Red.
That's
So she's
cute.
so she brings it and like she says like, oh, I know it's awful, its stats are awful, but like it is the same one that for the very first Pokemon she got was that Charmander, and she's had it for 20 plus years now.
She's just like Ash
Wow.
with Pikachu.
Yeah.
It's got terrible stats, but like you
Yeah.
know how to do it.
Yeah.
That Pikachu's kind of overpowered. I don't.
It was, and then they I don't know,
They nerfed it.
Nerfed.
Yeah, they got
They
you up patch
nerfed
notes.
it.
Yeah,
They did. He
There
was
was- there-
OP taking down Mewtwo and shit. And the next movie can't do crap. I'm like, okay.
yeah. They had patch notes come in after that. They're like, all right,
Electrocuting
movie.
growlers to death.
this goddamn mouse is beating a psychic bio created Pokemon that's meant to be like all Pokemon put into one. Nope. Not having it.
Matt, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, so I think one I'm going to do is The Witcher 3. It's 2016, I think. It's the only Witcher game that I've played, although I've seen kind of playthroughs for the other two, but just the world that they created for The Witcher 3 is just, it's awesome. And just, I don't mind spending all my time in that game. Just not just for the gameplay and the story, just kind of going through it, but just kind of wandering around and just picking up side quests, just even as you kind of go through, like how Skyrim had those kind of side quests and that sort of thing, just kind of almost randomly generating, but just it's just fun to spend time in that world. So yeah, so that one,
The Witcher 3. Okay.
The Witcher 3, and then
Also, very good game, by the way. I did like it. I just downloaded it last November, and I've been slowly playing through it again. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's really, really good. And I don't know. I guess kind of a callback to just like Halo, the first Halo. If I could, I would. But I mean, yeah.
I was gonna say, you were a PlayStation kid, right? Not a Nintendo kid, Matt.
Well, I mean, I had the very first Nintendo.
But like you had PlayStation and not N64, is what I mean, right?
Yeah, but I mean, so I didn't even I had PlayStation 2 that I ended up buying myself like when it came out later.
Right.
I didn't really have a console much growing up outside of the Nintendo.
Right.
And then when that started interfering with schoolwork stuff, they gave it to my grandpa so I could go ahead and play when I visited grandpa. So.
To add on to the Witcher thing, like the Witcher 3, I agree with Matt. It's such a good game. I mean, it was 2015 that it won Game of the Year.
It's very deep too.
And that's saying something because in 2015, the 3 of the other games that were nominated for Game of the Year were Bloodborne, which is still like a very, very, very loved game. Fallout 4, and then Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. So 3 other games that all if they were put in a different year, all would have won Game of the Year.
I was gonna say I preferred that year. I preferred Fallout 4 over Witcher.
I had preferred Bloodborne.
No.
Just because Fallout was, I had already known that universe, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, but Fallout 3 to me, Fallout 3 was better than Fallout 4 just overall for me. Even though the graphics weren't that great.
I agree. No, I agree.
I
agree, but like
Fallout 4 had better
graphics,
but Fallout 3 was a better game.
Like Witcher 3 won in a year of all-star games, though.
And it deserved it. It really deserved it. So,
yeah. Erik, yours.
Your
I will. Yes.
Mentions.
Sorry, I was getting a text. I told people I'm online right now, but they ignore that fact, so you know. Okay, so my honorables are 2 games from. Yeah, so my main list is basically the stuff from the 2000s, and then my honorables are stuff from like my childhood. So one of my honorable mentions is Mario 64 because I played the crap out of that game, and if I found a ROM for it nowadays, I'd probably play the crap out of that game. I heard it's coming to the Switch later this year, so who knows?
Wow. Yeah,
that might be the kicker that makes me buy a Switch. We'll see. So Mario 64, I don't know if you guys, like I said, Matt didn't, I don't think had, an N64, but that was like, the launch game with it. It's the one that, that's the one when I got it on Christmas. That's like the game, like, and you sometimes you don't get spoiled with your parents buying you a lot of games. So that was the game like I had for a long time. I would just grind over and over again because, unless Blockbuster or Hollywood Video came out with something that looked cool, I didn't rent it or play anything new. So
it was a long time until Conker's Bad Fur Day came out. Then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that's a game. I should have put that one on there. That one's hilarious.
That was, yes.
That should probably be on the most underrated game list of all time. But so there's Mario 64, and then of course Sonic the Hedgehog 2, not 1, 2, because 2 had tails. Still one of my favorite games to go back and visit. Just anything Sonic was really awesome. 2 and 3 were my favorites. 3 had Knuckles, 2 had Tails, but I think 2 was the better one. Just I think it was. I don't know. I like the dynamic between Sonic and Tails more than I did between Knuckles and Sonic. So that was fun to me. And yeah, it's just classic. Anybody who's played a Sonic game knows. Like you can just play that little blue fur ball all day, man. He's pretty awesome. And it was hard. You know, it's that little N60. I mean, that little Sega controller, man. Get some of those levels as you got deeper and deeper. That was like you had to grind them, and sometimes it was frustrating to get that deep into the game. But all right, so there's my honorable mentions. Let's start going through our main ones now. So we're gonna go number 3. Dan, why don't we start with you? You're number 3. Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic and Republic 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Yeah, that's the one that I
Those
thought
were
that.
the shit. Shut
Yeah.
your mouth, Matt. Shut your stupid poor mouth.
He was a fan.
I love those.
Yeah,
I love those
Okay,
games.
good. I was
Wow,
gonna say,
Katie.
how are you gonna shit on that?
No, I am not ever, never.
So-
No, I would never shit on those games. Ever.
I take it back.
Go ahead.
So, when it comes to that game, I'm thoroughly upset because I was kind of looking through Game of the Year awards, and the game awards started in 2003, and Knights of the Old Republic
That's
1
back
came
when they
out
were like
2003.
Spike TV though. That's
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but still, like
Okay.
that's when the awards officially started,
Right.
and that was the year that Knights of the Old Republic came out. But I think it came out. It came out and it lost to Mad in 2004.
Yeah. Like I
Wow.
said, Spike TV ran them back then. So
Which is
Wow.
upsetting.
Yeah.
But
That is
Star Wars
so funny.
Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, it's hard to pick. I enjoyed them both so much. I think 1 had the better story personally, but 2 had a lot more freedom.
Hmm.
The reason I say they had better story is because it was a lot easier to understand in 1. And 2, I didn't understand who it was that I was playing. I didn't understand like what my character's purpose was. It felt like they were just some random character that's like, oh yeah, you were a Jedi that rebelled, so you could have been literally any Jedi. And I think that was the purpose of it, is that the exiled Jedi that you play as could be anybody. It's not one specific person. Whereas in the Star Wars Knights of the Republic 1, you are a set character in the storyline, which
Yeah, but
resonates
you
even
don't-
to like current Star
yeah.
Wars. Yeah, and I think that's what I like that one more, is because now all these stories come out for Star Wars, and like Revan is referred to back a lot, and it's like, wow, back before like this was ever a big thing, I got to play as like that character. And I think personally the Knights of the Old Republic era is the best story in all of Star Wars. I don't think there is anything that's been more fun to like replay through than the first one, because there is so much lore and knowledge that you get from the first one that's just unintentional. Like a lot of games
Mhm.
like Skyrim or Witcher, there's a lot of side quests and there's a lot of lore in it, but I don't care for it as much. But when I go and play Knights of the Old Republic 1, I have to do everything. I have to read everything, because it's
Mhm.
just so intriguing on how something back in 2003 they were able to create a better story for Star Wars than we were able to in 2018, 19. Like it baffles me. At that game, I recommend it to everybody, like, because it's Star Wars. Like if you love Star Wars, you're going to love this game. It is an RPG Star Wars game
Mhm.
that is better than most Star Wars games that come out now.
and it
my
is May the
opinion.
4th. So perfect.
Yeah, and it's May the 4th.
Yeah.
So like I think it's a great one to start out with.
Yeah.
I will never
Yeah.
stop ranting and raving about how much I love that. Even the MMO that came out was still was a lot of fun.
I was gonna say, did you ever play KOTOR Online or no?
Yeah, no, I was badass at that.
Of
Which
course.
was probably like I think my favorite MMO, but because they had such a rough launch, the game died real quick because they had a lot of
All I remember is
issues.
the last day on Twitch, like they were doing that whole crazy thing where before the server shut down, like everybody got in like a lobby and like it was they all just met up. Nobody was killing each other or anything. They were all just like celebrating.
yeah, no, it was a lot of it was awful. It was a lot of server stability issues,
Yeah.
and it killed the game. And it does that to a lot of games nowadays. Like if you're not able to log on day one, like within the first 3 hours, everyone's done with the game. Like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm already over this, which sucks. But overall, Knights of the Republic 1 and 2, like start with 1, go to 2. Just because you're gonna have way more fun with 1, and it's gonna get you ready for 2, even though 2 doesn't really give a shit about 1 ever existing. You're gonna be
I mean,
you're gonna have a lot
it
more
kinda
fun with 2.
does. Because you're looking out. You're out there looking for Revan the whole time, pretty much, aren't you? From what I remember.
No. The whole
'Cause
purpose of
Revan disappeared after the end of 1.
yeah, the purpose of 2 is you're an exiled Jedi that's trying to regain your connection with the Force and trying to find the remaining Sith since the whole Jedi War
Yeah.
involving Revan. But like they have no idea where Revan's at, and so like you're just trying to get rid of the old other Sith, I
Gotcha.
guess.
Yeah.
Um,
It has been
and in
such a long
fact,
time stuff like that.
in fact, my Steam username used to be a lot of my usernames used to be Zezkael, which was a Jedi Master in the second one, and a lot of people didn't know it, and it disappoints me because I'll talk to people like, "Oh yeah, I played Star Wars 1 and 2." It's like, "Oh, then you'll get my gamer tag," and they're like, "No, I don't." It's like Jedi
You go-
Master Zezkael's like Mace
Yeah.
Windu, but in the past.
You go for those deep cuts, dude.
Yeah.
Could be the name of your first child.
Yeah. Seriously, it's gonna be.
Yeah, well,
It'd be a
it's
sick ass
like-
name.
Yeah.
Now, Katie, did you ever play it? I know me and Matt did a little bit, but did you ever get a chance to play KOTOR or 1 and 2? Next to the Old Republic.
1. I think I remember playing 2. I know I played 1, or at least I watched someone play 1, and then I think I got into it at 2. And then I liked it a lot. It was the gameplay was really easy because I was like, I don't remember, like 13 or like, not exactly professional. But I remember having a lot of fun with it and being able to choose the light or the dark or like do this or that, and each thing had like a choice you made, and it
Right.
furthered the storyline in different directions. So you could go back and you could do a whole new character, and you could have like sort of a different storyline for the most part, and that makes it like, I don't know, just like special, just different. And each time you play it is like a little bit, it's like a choose your own, but like, I don't know.
Yeah. They keep you on rails to a point, but other than that, you can.
I mean,
do
like,
whatever you want.
it'll still like guide you towards. I mean, there's like one story sort of, but like you could still choose kind of.
And that's a good point that Katie brought up is the
Which is what you didn't touch on. I was like, that's my favorite part.
the choice. Yeah, I know. I try not to go on too long because we didn't want a 3-hour podcast, but like they even introduced the whole alignment thing that other games were kind of touching on, but you could actually see it in Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. Like the more you went to the dark side, the more corrupted your character became.
Yes.
Like their eyes got wider, they started getting veins, and they looked more pale and evil, like Palpatine almost. And then the more towards the light side that you went, the more they had this glow and heroic look that they did, and like your profile would even show it.
Yeah,
and like
you'd be all glowy blue. Yeah.
It even got better depending on your relationship with all the other characters that you had on your team. If you had like the max relationship with them, even if they were good guys, if you went full evil at that point, they would start to become corrupted as well, and they would look evil with you. And then the ones that weren't with you, they'd become more good, or what, like the opposite of whatever it is.
Yeah.
Depending on your choices, and it's just.
It's a lot of little stuff, little nuggets like that.
Yeah,
that make
and
that
just
really
the way
take it over the top.
And the way you kind of interact with your team as well, just overall like base interactions, your team would kind of just treat you differently. It's kind of the start of a lot of that stuff too.
You'd have a different ending. I think in the first one,
Yeah,
you had like 3 different endings.
Different storyline. Yeah. See. I haven't played it since its release, so it's like foggy, but like I remember certain things. I remember certain things.
So, I've been waiting for years for them to get that remaster out. I really want that to happen.
They got shut down. They got shut down for copyrights.
Well, that was that was a fan remaster.
They were going to redo it using the new, not the new, but they were going to use the Unreal Engine. And while they were working on it, they got hit with the lawsuit saying like a cease and desist to stop doing it because they don't have their permission.
It'd be too awesome.
That was the fan made one though, right?
I think so.
They've been working on it for like years.
Yeah, they were getting close to the end, and then they got hit with the cease and desist.
Wow.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But I guess don't really start on something unless you have permission, but still.
Well, at the time, there were a lot of other games getting fans redoing them of some sort. Like Smash Brothers had people like had made their own version of Super Smash Brawl because Brawl was awful, and they called it Project M. And Nintendo was just like, "All right, cool, I guess. If you really want to, at least you have to have the game in order to do it." Whereas this one in particular, it's Star Wars. I think this was not too long after it got owned by Disney is when they canceled it. Actually, when they got hit with the cease and
Yeah, that
desist.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That's when the poor fate of 1313 got canned too.
That
Yep.
too. Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Katie, I'm gonna go with your number 3 here. You got. I'm assuming this is the new one, right? The one that came
Oh
out.
yeah,
Okay,
four.
the
Four.
new-
We're gonna
okay,
go with 4.
the newest
I couldn't
God of War.
remember. I couldn't remember what number it was. I
Yeah.
think it was literally just called God of
It
War.
was just called God of War. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
for it.
So thank you. My choice is God of War. I really like the lore that they put in it. You really like deep dive into the storyline. The gameplay is pretty easy. So it basically the story is he is kind of after all of the events of the other God of Wars, which were also awesome. But it's just like he's kind of a dad now, so he has a son. So you travel with the son, and he has, instead of his dual swords, he has this giant ass axe
Yeah.
in like kind of like the whole Olympus sort of era sort of deal. And I don't know, I just really like the storyline. I feel like you can go back and you could replay it. And I think they were going to do some sort of after story download. It hasn't happened yet, or I'm not
I haven't
really sure
heard
if
anything
they're
about a
thinking
DLC
about it.
yet.
Yeah, they were thinking about DLC because they kind of left the ending open-ended, like no spoilers. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you haven't played it or there's no.
I heard that they were gonna just make another one to branch off of, like an actual
Oh, is
like
that
full second
what-
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. I heard something was coming after it, but even still, you could go back, you could play, you can upgrade certain things, you can get all of the equipment and gear, and he gets different equipment like the swords and like stuff
Have
like
you
that.
beaten all the Valkyries?
No, see, and you can go and you can the Valkyries.
yeah.
Oh my god! Like
They
there's
are a
one
pain in
where
the
you have to
ass.
go into the fire and like everything is on fire and like you like die a million times. Anyways, I'm not like the best at any games ever, but still, I try my
all
best and I like the things that I like. But
Yeah.
all the Valkyries are very hard. I mean, you don't have to beat them for the game. It's kind of the after game, which just kind of makes it a little bit more fun. But the
Yeah.
Valkyries are tough. I'm sure that there are some people who make it look like really easy and be like, oh, it's easy Valkyries, but they're tough.
They are.
So no, I have not. I have to.
Yeah.
I kind of gave up after that certain world that you had to go to. But
Niflheim
I
or
think
something. Yeah.
I
But that is a great one. I love that one. But,
yeah, I never got a chance to play because it came out after I'd already sold my PS4 and got an Xbox. So
oh.
I watched it though.
Yeah.
I watched most of it through like the playthrough, the YouTube, like they do those 10-hour
Yeah.
recordings.
Yeah, and it looked really good too. So it'll look.
Yeah,
good
that's what it
for
was
a
cool
long-
about it. It was
a
just all
long,
the
long
cutscenes.
time.
I was like, this is cool. I'll just watch this
Yeah.
movie.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, it's like one cutscene. So like you stay with
Yeah.
Kratos like the whole time, and they give you the cutscenes, and it's like one whole take, sort of.
Yeah.
I've done that for a lot of games that I don't have the platform for. So I mean, it is what it is.
It's kind
Yeah.
of like playing it.
Yeah.
Sort of. You
Well,
get a
you know
piece of it.
You know what's funny is they ship some games now like that. Like you could literally play just story mode, it says, and you don't even have to like interact or fight or anything. You just basically watch the movie. Like it's
Yeah.
weird.
So
Yeah.
like it's just cutscenes.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just like you walk from thing to like. There's no.
It's kind of like a walking
mechanics.
simulator, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I know they did that with Senua's Sacrifice, didn't they? They had that option.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
What's
Not
I
gonna lie, I've
think-
never heard of this.
I think what you call it.
You
Hellblade,
said you liked-
right?
Yeah,
no,
Hellblade.
Kojima's new game, you can do that too. You can just watch the story
Death
mode.
Stranding.
Yeah, Death Stranding.
Yeah.
You don't have to do any of the other stuff if you really don't want to.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
somebody
'cause-
commented on
well-
it, they're like, "Am I going to pay $60 just to watch a movie?" And then they're like, "Yes." So it's
No.
Wow, they didn't even
They're-
60 like Jesus.
They're
Yeah.
like you'll have the option. They're like, well, then I want to watch the movie. Like,
yeah.
as long
Well,
as I
no,
have the
well-
option.
Well, because kind of Katie's point on the lore and the mythology of the Viking, mythology. I love that aspect about God of War too, and listening to Mimir tell the stories of all the different Viking, all the lores, all the gods, and all the like Thor killing that giant, the frost giant, over like a drunken argument or something. And he's in his snow village with a chisel stuck in his head. It's a great game to kind of just deep dive into all the Viking lore and stuff, and just I ended up buying Neil Gaiman's book on Norse mythology because of it,
Wow.
and even all that kind of they changed down all the Norse mythology enough to kind of just like spice it up a bit, and even still, the original mythology is still pretty great. It's just really interesting.
They stayed pretty true. Yeah, they took some liberties, but they're myths. But I think
Yeah.
that they stayed pretty true to it, and
They
I don't know.
did.
I think they did it justice, honestly.
Yeah.
And all these stories that like I never even knew, and then you would go and you would like fight that thing that he was talking about, or like something like that.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like,
Fun.
oh yeah, it's been asleep for centuries, and you're like, oh, not anymore. Da, da, da.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what made like the original God of War is so great too, is because those were Greek mythology, and people are more familiar with Greek than they are
Yeah.
Norse. I
Yeah.
think the only reason people are more familiar with Norse now is because of Thor and Loki, and
Right, yeah.
so like
Because
people have a little bit more.
Marvel made them.
That's
Yeah,
the only
made
thing I was
them
like, oh, I
important.
knew
Because
that one.
Marvel made yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like that's what made the old God of War so great, is because it was Greek mythology, and like I know Hercules, I know I have to stab Zeus, yes, like, and so
Well,
now that they're doing Norse mythology, like, and everyone's on the Marvel bandwagon, they're like I'm down, I'm down.
Yeah.
So
the thing that intrigued me about this one too is that they took it in a different direction from the old. The old ones were hack and slash. They were just like,
Yeah.
hey, you know
Well,
what this
there's
is?
a little hack and slash. Okay, I was
little
here for
bit.
the
No,
hack and
but
slash.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, it's not.
it was a
Yeah,
genre. So you had the games like what's it called, Devil May Cry. You had Darksiders. You had
Yeah.
God of War. You had all those hack and slash games. Yeah.
And this one kind of, and I just liked how they took a more cinematic approach to it. Like, it's like, yeah, you could we're still gonna have those mechanics in there, but we're gonna give you like more like a really meaty game. Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it deserved the accolades it got for sure. All right, Matt, let's move on to your number 3, Hitman 2016.
Yeah, this was kind of it's kind of one of those ones that you kind of go through all the different levels. It's just fun to kind of go around and listen to NPCs, kind of just their conversations, and as you're kind of trying to figure out, where the guys are that you had your contracts on. Just each of the levels is so richly kind of detailed, and it's just fun to kind of make your way through, and just try all the different ways to be able to kind of like fulfill the contracts and get the challenges in and kind of get your level mastery up. And just all the different failures you have is it's just fun and frustrating at the same time. But yeah, it's a blast.
That was one of those ones too that they had like DLC, right? You could do more missions after they came out with it.
Sort of. So I mean, I know when they initially released it, what they ended up doing is they just released one level at a time, and
Right.
because there's so much to be able to do in each level for your mastery, they had one level come out like every month or something like that. But then now what they also have is people can actually create their own contracts.
Oh.
So you can basically you can have like some random waiter in the first hotel level in the first game and be your target. And then you can also have it to where what they call it escalations, where basically you're like say you have a certain target you take out, and then like after you take them out, you kind of go through, you do your level exit, and then your next level of the escalation is maybe you add another target with further restrictions on and that sort of thing, where it's like you can't incapacitate anybody in the level or it's an immediate mission failure, that sort of thing.
So did you like this one more than Hitman 2? Because I heard Hitman 2 was the bigger hit. Like,
I haven't
no pun
played
intended,
Hitman 2
but-
yet. Yeah, I haven't played
Yeah.
Hitman 2 yet. So
That kind of
want to.
reminds me of was it Splinter Cell Chaos Theory? I think it
Oh,
was.
yeah.
That definitely similar. I didn't play Hitman 2016, but I just got done buying Hitman 2. So I kind of feel like I have to go back and play the first one now to appreciate the second one.
Well, yeah, and then it's.
Oh, by the way, before I forget, since we're talking about games, Force, the new Star Wars game is half off today, and I bought it. So just before, and it's only today. So if you want to get that,
The last
The,
it's
Jedi
$30
Order?
today. Yeah,
Was
The,
it?
On Steam or?
everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
Nice. I'll
little
have to
pro
do that.
tip: everybody
Yeah.
won't be hearing this
Yeah,
till
Jedi-
later. So sorry for everyone who's seeing
Yeah.
this later, but
Jedi Fallen Order.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
$30.
yeah.
I bought it immediately. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, the Star Wars
That's
Soulsborne
cute.
game. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to one of mine. Nope, mine on the notepad, not there. So,
You don't remember your pick?
well, I didn't number them, so I'm just trying to decide which way to go with it.
Am I the only one that numbers them?
You and
Probably.
Katie.
Right on, Katie. Elbow, like social distance elbow bump thing. Yeah. No high
I don't
fives.
know. We follow rules, but it's whatever.
All right, so I'm gonna go with my number 3. I'm gonna go with just I'm gonna say this was the number 3. So it's GTA, but it's the Vice
Yeah.
City. It's Vice City.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot
all
of
the
people,
80s.
a lot of people go with Andreas, but I go with Vice City just because that is the one that I've replayed the most. To the point of I remember when they first brought it out for mobile, I downloaded it immediately and it was just like playing it. It was terrible. It was not. It was not ready. It was
does
a
not seem.
It was a bad port too, and it was like $20 like on the App Store, and I'm just like, no,
man.
I want to be able to play Vice City everywhere I go.
My
Oh,
God.
man.
Adult
But,
decisions, I
Yeah,
guess.
it was not ready. But it was still pretty cool to do. But yeah, going back to the days, I mean, Matt can attest to this. Used to go over to your house and play because I didn't have a PS2, and so it was just like that was the only time I got to, and it was just so much fun. It was the coolest thing ever. Like the polygons are terrible. You go back and look at it now, and it's just like so bad, but it was so fun, and like the voice talent is so great in that game. Like the characters.
Was it Ray Liotta? It was Tommy Vercetti, right?
Tommy Vercetti, yeah. They did the whole Scarface, like one of the missions was like literally the Scarface storyline. Like,
it was the opening, right? In the little, was it the apartment or something like that?
No, it was like the first or second mission where you actually go to the dude's like mansion and that you have the shootout in the mansion.
That's right. Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. So yeah, GTA Vice City. I think it's still replayable now. I think that's if they ever start doing remasters, they should probably remaster that one. But I know they're hard at work at number 6 right now. So
allegedly,
rumors is number 6 might be Liberty City, and
Again?
then they might do.
Why would we go back to
because they're going
times.
They're going back and they're updating what they look like. So like obviously we just got San Andreas again with GTA 5.
So then they should do Vice City.
Vice City is
gave
supposed
us
to be on the list as well.
Oh, okay.
They gave us Liberty City with 4.
Yeah. Vice City would be dope. Like
they would need to go back to Vice City.
If we
the original plan was that GTA 5 was going to be San Andreas, and then they were going to have DLC where you go to the other maps. But that became too much.
Well, I was going to say, I think what happened was GTA Online blew up until they didn't think it was going to become what it is now. Like, a game 8 years later you could still play.
It's still going strong. Yeah,
like it's so crazy. I still love that GTA too. I played the casino DLC a little while ago. It was pretty fun. But yeah, now Vice City just for the nostalgia and that soundtrack, man, that 80s soundtrack, man, that was so good. If you haven't played it, do yourself a favor, go and play it. It's probably super cheap everywhere right now.
Vice City's the one that's Florida, right?
Yeah, Miami. It's Miami. Yeah.
Miami.
So it's
extra crazy.
I assume it's on the PlayStation Store somewhere or something. I don't know.
So that's where they get the story for Vice City from actual Florida.
That's right. They had to tone it down from real life.
Yeah, I know. No wonder it seems censored because that's actually based on stories in Florida.
I'm just disappointed there's no like bath salt missions though.
That was before that happened.
I mean, I'm sure it was in Florida somewhere at some point.
Sure. Zombies walking around eating people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Drunk zombies.
Drunk zombies. All right. Let's go back. Dan, to your number 2.
So this was hard, man. This is a hard one because my number 1, my 2. My number 1 became my number 1. Like I wrote down a list of like why they should be my number 1, and it won by a lot. But number 2, like, is not to be knocked down. It's the Jak and Daxter series. Has anyone here played the Jak and Daxter series?
I've only played one of them because I didn't have a PlayStation. Again, that was the whole thing.
So growing up, my brother and I we had a Nintendo 64, and then finally we got a PlayStation 2 and an Xbox. And I played PlayStation 2. My brother had the Xbox, but we'd occasionally kind of swap. And Jak and Daxter was the first game that I got that made him not want to play his Xbox. He wanted to play that game with me. So we would go through and play Jak. Like I would be the one controlling, but like he would help choose what I was gonna do or like where I was gonna go or whatever. Like, oh, we should try to go here next and yada yada yada. And the first one was so fun. You're playing as this like I want to say like middle school, early high school looking kid, and his buddy.
Huge ears.
Yeah, they're like elves basically.
And what's his buddy, like a rabbit or something?
So you play as Jak, and in the beginning of the first one, like he had his best friend falls into a vat of what's called dark eco, and it's kind of like this special magical resource in the world of Jack and Daxter, and he gets turned into it's like an otter and weasel mix, so it's called an otzel.
Cute.
And so he's this like little orange otzel that's always on his shoulder, and like it's kind of funny when you attack and you do these spins because like you see him like flail around, and he's just kind of like a character that talk for the main character because the main character's a mute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the main character doesn't talk in the first one. Uh, and so you play the first one, you're like kind of having fun. It's this like very lighthearted story kind of, and then like as you get to the end, you're like it gets kind of dark with what's going on because of the eco in the world. There's like green eco, red, and then there's dark eco, and then like there's kind of like I don't remember there being a point to what the hell you were doing. I think you were just trying to find a way to get your friend to become human again, and then you find out some like bad guys trying to use the dark ego to control the world. Well, you end of the first one happens. You end up trying to go to the future, and then they crash land in the future, and then you get introduced into Jack 2. And Jack 2 was the game that blew my fucking mind because the first words that come out of Jack's mouth when he's finally able to talk were the words like, "Where the hell am I?" And as a 9-year-old, I was like,
said a swear.
yeah.
Right.
And it's like you flip the game over, it says it's rated like E for everyone. Like you're like, what happened? Like my brother looked at me and he goes, "I'm gonna tell mom you got a game with the swear word." I'm not lying. And I'm like, no, it's cool. I'll let you play. And so like the game starts off with the character you're playing as Jack and Jack 2 being tortured. He's being full on electrocuted and tortured, and they're trying to ask him about some stuff, and like he's a mute, so he's like, I don't know, like he's not talking. Finally he wakes up, says that first legendary line for me, and then you play the whole game, and it's a lot more fun because it's in the future. Jack now has like Super Saiyan 3 hair, so he goes from like this short like regular Super Saiyan 1 hair to Super Saiyan 3 hair. I guarantee you that's where they based it off of, now that I'm thinking about it. Because
I'm looking at the
he's got this
images
greenish
right
yellow
now.
hair.
Yeah,
He's got this greenish yellow hair. And in the first one, you fought with your fist, and the second one, you get guns. You get these like super out of control side like you started off, you're like, all right, you got a sniper rifle, you got like a pistol, you got like a regular machine gun, and you got like a shotgun. But then like as you play the game, they get out of control. Like you get some plasma gravity gun, and it was nuts. It blew our minds. And the secondary character like talks just as much as he did in the first one, but now the main character's talking, and it felt like GTA because you could hijack people's flying hover cars and crash them and get the police chasing after you and just whatever you wanted to do. And the story is fun the entire time, by the way, too. I don't want to say anything about the story because everyone that plays it, there is a massive like twist in the story that blows my mind and involves time travel. Then you get to the third one, and the third one is just like Mad Max meets Jack and Daxter now. It's all Mad Max style. Your character's banished from the city. Yeah, he's banished from the main city. You got these like Mad Max style cars with rockets, and you're like trying to join this crew of like sand pirates or whatever you want to call them. And so you're like out doing races in the desert and there's sandstorms and a bunch of cool nonsense that's going on, and it's just better. And that's like when the story like you look back at all of them, you're like, wow, the first one was fun. Didn't really understand what was going on in the story. Second one, I was definitely involved in the story because my character's talking now. I want to hear every word he has to say. And then the third one, they start wrapping everything up, and you're like, holy crap, this was amazing. Like when you go back and play all of them after you played the third one, you realize how good the story was. Like it looked like they had written this out and planned it all ahead of time, which I don't think they did. It definitely doesn't seem like Legend of Korra status where they're like, we don't know how to end this. So like they're so replayable because you're gonna go back and you're gonna play all of them, and then you're gonna finish the third one, and then you're like, I have to play the other ones now because they connect, and I need to see where they connect now. Like it's beautiful.
Very cool. Yeah, I always confuse that one with Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, Ratchet and
I
Clank
was
almost made the
thinking
list
for a
too.
little
Yeah.
bit.
It came out in the era of Ratchet and Clank, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, Attack and the Power of Juju, like those platforms. Yeah, they're all very similar style games.
You
on
made
how
some of
they
those
play.
up.
Yeah, right.
No, it's kind of like was kind of like when we talked about the hack and slash games. These were like platformer games, I think they were originally called.
Yeah, I remember the boom of platformers in the late '90s, early 2000s. Those were
and so it was part of that era. And unfortunately, Jack and Daxter only got to see to like 3, and then a racing one, I think. and a PSP title because Naughty Dog went on to create Uncharted
Right.
and The Last of Us.
Oh, garbage,
Oh,
all of
no.
it.
I want that.
Straight
Like,
trash.
They're gonna
I'm
surprise
happy.
you at E3
Yeah.
next year,
But
Dan. No.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm sitting here biting my tongue because I'm like, they're making such amazing games with Uncharted and Last of Us. Like, I hope that they grow to be able to where like, let's go back to Jack and Daxter. Let's remaster them or something. I want more Jack and
Remasters are a
Daxter.
huge thing nowadays. Look at the Resident
Yeah.
Evils and the and obviously Final Fantasy that Matt's playing. I mean, it's all the
Yeah.
rage right now to do a remaster.
You just got to
so.
get it going, get a hashtag out there.
Well,
and
that's
you know
that's
what?
the thing.
2 or 3
They
2 or
want to
3
see a
years
groundswell
later.
for it. Yeah, they want to
But,
see
like,
that.
That's the thing. Like to touch on, like for those people that aren't familiar with those early 2000 games, it's by Naughty Dog. Like you love Uncharted. If you love,
There's your in.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Last of Us. Like
Yeah.
this is Naughty Dog before they created that. You didn't know that they
Right.
created these games, and you're gonna go back and you're gonna play it, and you're like, wow, Naughty Dog has been amazing this entire time.
There you go. All right, Katie, let's go on to your number 2. You have one of my favorite games. The only reason I bought a Switch and then I sold it after because I was done. I was like, this is the only game. I was like, nothing else
That's
can
right.
quench my thirst.
Comes out with the release of the Switch.
Yeah.
Stood in line because the
I love this
Switch
game.
were like, I don't know, they just like were sold out everywhere. Like they didn't make enough for America. I don't know. I had to wait in line to
They didn't make
Make it.
enough at first. They didn't make
Yeah,
enough now either.
to
They're sold
get
out again.
to get the Switch, and then this was the only game that was coming out for the Switch. So this game was make or break for this brand new console,
Yep.
and they freaking made it amazing.
They
Zelda
knocked
Breath
out the
of
park.
the Wild
Yeah.
for the Switch,
Yep.
killed it every time. It was amazing. The first open world for Zelda games. So you get to go, and the world is massive. Like
Oh yeah.
it's just massive. It's amazing, but in
it's-
like a good way, where it's not like
Yeah.
too overwhelming.
I still think it's a technical feat that they were able to make the world that rich and huge on a Switch. Like they don't even have like that console doesn't even it shouldn't support that kind of a game. Like
And it did, and it looked really
Yeah.
good, and
Yeah.
everyone was like, "What the heck is this?" And then it was like so good. So that one we weren't ready for it, and it blew us out of the water. So the story is that they have at the start of it these divine beasts that they create to destroy Ganon, which has been
Ganondorf or Ganon.
Ganondorf,
Yeah, sure.
sorry, Ganondorf.
No, it's Ganon in the game, but I mean in like Zelda Lord's Ganondorf, whatever.
and
it's his current iteration.
so they create all this high tech stuff, and they have all these things to, they're getting ready for him. And then 10,000 years later, or like 9,000 years later, they sort of devolved into this like medieval-y sort of time where they kind of don't really have access to all that technological stuff that they had then. And then then the Ganon is gonna come back, so they're trying to dig up all this stuff, and they end up losing, sort of. Link gets really wounded,
Yeah.
and Zelda has to take him to the shrine, and she hides the Master Sword,
Mhm.
and her powers are then awakened, sort of, and she traps Ganon into the castle, and everything is sort of destroyed and just covered with enemies, and there's a blood moon that comes every now and then.
Fucking blood moon, Katie! Don't even get me started on that thing. Just when you thought you were getting somewhere in the
Just
game, all of a
when
sudden the
you're-
stupid blood moon shows up.
Doesn't
Then
you
like
you
10
gotta up your
characters
shit.
spawn on you, and you're like,
Gotta up your game. Oh, there was a streamer who was like sort of doing it, and he beat Ganon, and then the blood moon came, and then he like reset, and he had to like do it
no.
because the whole point about
Oh,
it is
because
to
it didn't
reset
finish.
all
It probably
the-
didn't finish the cut.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
like
didn't get
it
to
like
the
barely
cutscene.
didn't finish it,
Oh.
or like he was like
That's
right
such a
there to like
glitch.
reset, and he like it was amazing. I don't know if they like fixed it or like it, but anyways, it's still funny to me just thinking about it.
That's hilarious.
Anyways, so in the story, you wake up and you have amnesia or whatever, and Link has to go and uncover all of these divine beasts that have now been taken over, and they're like sort of evil or whatever. So you have to go, and they have these little mini maze sort of. They're like the shrine sort of, but the mini mazes.
It's like they're like each one
temples?
is like a different like it's like a temple. Yeah, it's like a temple.
yeah,
and
like
then
like a temple,
the water
but
temple.
and then you get a
not
mini
as-
boss.
It's not as deep. It's not as deep as like the temple, like the water temple. or
No.
something
Oh my
like that,
god,
which
the
is what-
worst.
They kind of they made it a little bit more available to everyone to sort of beat it, and I don't know, it was a little bit easier. a lot of it easier. It was kind of like a little puzzle game with a little mini boss at
I was
the
gonna
end.
say it was a little easier, but at the same time, it was like
But I
sometimes
still, it was a little
yeah.
struggle. I'm
if
not
you didn't
gonna,
push that, like sometimes tilt the thing just right and the ball fell off, you're like,
True.
I gotta
Or
go
if you
do this
weren't
whole
set
damn
up,
thing again.
if you weren't set up with the right equipment, it is
Right.
really hard. You
For the
have
boss
to really
fights,
go and you
yeah.
have to find the right swords that aren't going to break. Oh my god. So swords can break in the game, and it kind of adds a little extra layer because you have to sort of forage for certain
That's why you
things
gotta get that master sword first.
and cheat first. And I'm just kidding, but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot that you can do. A lot of like little side quest missions. A lot of like.
Have you
this
gone
and
back
that,
and replayed it, Katie?
Yeah, I went back
Wow.
and replayed it. They have like a like little mini DLCs where you could do like you get new suits of armor, and they partnered with
saw that.
different people, and you get like different sort of sets.
Did you get
I
the
did
bike?
go back.
Did you go?
I got the bike.
You
Yeah,
got the
I
bike?
redid it.
I didn't
got
do the bike. I didn't do the bike.
I got the bike. The bike is sick as fuck.
It is pretty
you
awesome.
just go and then it like does the little light thing and then
Yeah.
you ride it around. You could do little cheats where you can literally like stop the time and
Yeah.
like hit a rock or something and then jump on top of it and it'll like fly you like seriously. There's a lot of little things that you could do to make it just sort of fun.
I love that game. Like,
So
honestly, like, did it win Game of the Year? It did, right? I'm assuming it did.
It had better.
I can't remember, but it should have if it didn't.
We're just gonna say it did.
Yeah, the
It
thing I
won my
love.
game of the year.
I think the thing I loved about that game too is not only like I'm a sucker for lore. Anybody who knows me, when I play a video game, like I look for something that's got a lot of like lore in it and something I can sink my teeth into even after I'm done playing the game. That's the fun part of it to me. And that game had tons of lore. Like it had so much that I literally bought the. I don't think it's in here, but I bought the actual like the master book, like the Zelda. It's like a gold. It's like got the gold like cover on it and everything. I was like, yeah, I went deep on
I wish
that.
I could go back and buy like the special like edition or whatever, blah 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 that they could do.
Yeah, this was also the first Legend of Zelda game in a while where Zelda was like a prominent role in the game. Like she was OP. Like she was the key to everything.
I cannot wait
like, damn, that's so
for the number 2 that they are doing. And we saw the trailer.
Supposedly
for.
she's going to be playable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, she's going to be playable.
So cool.
Sort of, yeah. And I am just I'm so stoked for that. Her little short hair where she's like so like probably movable.
Yeah. The world is alive too, and like that's the great thing about playing that type of a game is like everyone you meet and interact
and all
with
the
just has a
spirits,
personal.
and you know that they've already like did their
quirks.
part and they tried their best. And they're like, "Thanks for freeing me." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes."
Oh, when you complete the maze, the little
Yeah.
mazes, yeah. Yep.
There was I remember seeing I like to watch videos of like Easter eggs in games, and there was one in particular where there's like a certain bridge where I guess it's based off a real life person, I guess, that was, I don't know if it's that like at the studio had committed suicide, which is kind of sad. It's a lot of sad. But they created a memoriam to him where there's a certain bridge that if you go to and you stand at the ledge, there's a guard on the bridge that will run and try to stop you and try to talk you down from the bridge. Even if you're just standing there to like look at the view or whatever, he'll come and talk to you.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. His name begins with a D or something like that. I forget. Like there was a story behind why they did that.
Well, that's cute.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really. I got to play Breath of the Wild back in 2016 before it came out because I went to E3.
That's
I
right.
remember.
You did go to. I remember.
Yeah,
I went to about that.
I went to E3 2016, and I remember when I was first going, we were talking about things. Oh, what should we tackle? And we looked and we're like, Nintendo's not showing their Switch. This might be a bust for them. And then we looked and like they're only bringing Legend of Zelda. Like that's the only game that they're showing. Like they might be screwed this year in E3. Like it better do well. It better do well. So then I remember I signed up to go to it. I think I met a buddy of yours in line, or I met someone else in line. It was a 4-hour line. It was a 4-hour long line. It was someone's buddy.
Oh well, Gio was there. Did you see Gio? Because he went to that same one you did.
There's no way he was doing Nintendo.
No. Oh, Gio? Okay.
No.
I don't remember.
Gio loves Nintendo.
But like, it was a 4-hour long line. They had the voice of Mario coming down the line, and Mario and Luigi. So he would come down and he'd do his voice, and you could take pictures with him. I have the picture somewhere, I think. Maybe not. I don't remember. And it was a 4-hour long line to go in and play like 45 minutes on the Wii U, I think it was.
They didn't even have the Switch yet?
No, they didn't have the Switch. It was the Wii U version of Breath of the Wild.
Oh wow.
And so they're like,
Wow.
yeah,
It did
they're
come
like,
out on Wii U, didn't it? Now that I think
yeah, it
about
came.
it.
They're
I
like,
think it did. I think it
unfortunately,
shipped with
like we don't have the Switch ready, so you have to play it on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Wow.
you guys are fucked this year.
Yeah, I remember.
And then
Yeah.
and then because I had already gone and done VR and stuff. I had played all these other PlayStation games. Xbox was a wash. I'm like finally gonna play Nintendo, and I went in there and I played the 45 minutes of Legend of Zelda, and they had you do like 20 minutes at the beginning and then 25 minutes of like some other point. Maybe it was longer. I don't remember. Uh, and I walked out and I was like, dude, Nintendo won E3 2016. Like, I remember playing. I never got a Switch. I never played all the way through of Breath of the Wild. I played a lot of it here and there, but it was a game that I felt like I could dive into at any point and just go and have fun because
Oh yeah.
that
Mhm.
game was so. When I got to play it before it even came out, I was like, oh my god, you guys didn't need any other games. This is
Yeah.
all you needed. Like I was playing it like, oh, I was so wrong. I was so wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I literally bought the game. I remember. I mean, I bought the console because of that game. Like, it was getting such good. Like, I think it was Gio was like the one who convinced me because he was like,
He brought it to a podcast.
he brought it to the podcast. Yeah, that's where he convinced me. Yeah, at the studio. Yeah, he let me play it, and I was
Yeah.
like,
This is amazing. This is
I remember
amazing.
I remember you used the word tactile a lot. You were talking about the way it felt.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, that literally was the reason I bought a Switch was for that game.
Yeah.
So kudos. Yeah, that game is definitely a replayable game of all time. All right, Matt, let's go to yours. We talked about it a little bit, but I mean, Assassin's
little
Creed
bit.
Black Flag. Go for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I have been like I've always loved the Assassin's Creed games. Even going back to the very first one with kind of some of the janky fight mechanics on that one. But just I've always one thing I've always loved about the Assassin's Creed series is kind of going back through and kind of seeing a version of history and kind of being able to kind of see what it may have kind of looked like and living through it in a sense. And then just with Black Flag, it kind of opened up. And I know you hate Black Flag, Erik, because it's.
I didn't. No. I didn't hate Black Flag. I hated 3, and then I stopped.
The one that everyone
playing
hates.
after, and then I stopped playing after Black Flag.
3, okay. Hot take: 3 wasn't that bad. It's just
I agree.
people didn't like Connor because he wasn't really as charismatic as Ezio or even Altair. And then the one thing I really didn't like about 3 is the way they wrapped up Desmond Miles' story, which I hated that. But with Black Flag, it's kind of a nice kind of continuation where you kind of get this kind of faceless protagonist in the kind of the real world, and as you're kind of going through Edward Kenway's story, and you're this kind of unscrupulous pirate that both the Templars are trying to recruit and the Assassins are trying to recruit. You're kind of playing them both against each other. Just the overall story and kind of sailing through the Caribbean, and you still kind of have some of the stealth mechanics in there from the original setup of the game. It's just so much fun to kind of go through. But then the big thing is the multiplayer. I love the multiplayer. Like, I remember I showed you the multiplayer one time. You're like, I have no idea what the hell I'm looking at. Because it's just the way that it plays. But once you kind of get the hang of kind of being able to navigate the multiplayer world, it's so much fun, and it's so rewarding when you get through there as you get your target, and then you have to evade the people who are trying to assassinate you because you're their target. It's just a lot of fun, and it's really challenging, and it's rewarding when you start getting on the leaderboards and you start getting you're evading the people that are trying to kill you. And like, how like in like Modern Warfare or something, you'll get like a random message from someone that you just own in the game. They're like, man, fuck you, like I can't. When I got that in Assassin's Creed on the multiplayer, I was like, sorry dude, but yes, that's awesome, because it felt good. It felt good to be able to kind of have just to spend so much time on being able to get good at that, to where it's like someone hated you just for being good at it. And it's just, I've always been on the other end of that coin. So nice, just that once. Just that once.
Oh.
I remember Black Flag, the multiplayer for Assassin's Creed. I agree. I love it. I think it's probably my favorite. And the unfortunate thing is that it failed, and being able to be a consistent thing that people grew attached to, because Assassin's Creed multiplayer was so hard. It is so
it was hard. It's such a niche genre of the multiplayer. Like, it's not something you can just look at and understand what you're seeing. It's not an FPS. It's not just a typical, like, even the multiplayer for like Splinter Cell or something. It's still that's easier to understand than what was going on with Assassin's Creed.
I think what also like mess with people is that the pace of the game slows down a lot more when you
It
play the
does.
multiplayer because
Yeah.
you play the regular Assassin's Creed, you can just sprint on top of trees, on top of masts, jump onto people. You can just run around and slaughtering
Yeah.
people.
Oh yeah.
In the multiplayer, you cannot. You have to be stealthy. You
Well,
actually have to be an
yeah.
assassin. You have to be like roguelike. You can kind of like sprint around. Like I had a match where I think I was sprinting around and having them chasing me, and then I would like stop somewhere, hide, and then like just kept playing cat and mouse intentionally. But I eventually lost. Like it was so hard to be able to keep that up and keeping that fast paced Assassin's Creed that you're used to in the multiplayer. Like you really did have to like take it step by step and be very methodical about how you did things.
Yeah.
But I agree, it's so fun. I mean, Black Flag was the pirate game we deserved. It was Assassin's Creed Pirates.
It was great. Yeah, it was great.
I didn't play it, so I feel a little like I missed out.
I've been asked like to this day like what do I think the best Assassin's Creed is, and people are like, oh, Assassin's Creed 2 because of Ezio. It's like, no, screw that. I'm a damn pirate on a pirate ship doing Assassin's Creed things, jump into other people's ships. You can cut the rope. You can swing on other people's ship.
Yeah.
You had an app to where like when you were like at school, work, wherever, you can like, oh, I can keep sending other ships out on missions to get resources to make my ship better. So when I come back, you can unlock shanties, sea shanties. That was the best thing ever. When you went around and you could go treasure hunting to different islands, just go treasure hunting. You can go do like what you could on Sea of Thieves, hunt on treasure, and then you're like, oh, you unlocked a new sea shanty, and then it's like a radio, but it's just pirates singing. You could just change it while they're all rowing the boat. It was so fun. It was so immersive. Like all the pirate games that come out now, they're not as
sailor, what can you do with a drunken
that was
sailor?
The one
what can you do with a drunken sailor early in the morning?
You can go on Spotify and you can find the whole playlist, and you'll.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
I found myself playing that game for like 50 hours before I decided, all right, I should finish the game. And you get other legendary, you have other legendary pirates in the game too, like Blackbeard.
Blackbeard, and you get what was it? Jack?
What was the girl's name?
Mary something, but
yeah.
But that was a spoiler. But what is it? Jack the Kid or something?
Calico Jack.
Yeah.
Blackbeard, Benjamin Hornigold. And Bonnie is another one.
Yeah, and Bonnie.
So well, them two famous pirates.
Yeah, and then one of my favorite, like just Irish songs ever is "The Parting Glass," and they closed the game with that, and I heard that, and I'm just like, I want that played at my funeral because it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful song, and it's like, yes, I'm getting up from the party.
Not the pipes.
Have another round.
The pipes. The pipes.
Nope. Give me the parting glass. That'll be it.
This acts as your last will and testament, so it's on the internet. It lives forever.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
I agree. We're playing it.
Yeah.
Just not too soon, Matt. Just not too soon.
Yeah. No, not yet.
All right. So moving on. So for my second. This was very hard for me between second and first because I love this series so much. But I think number one, you'll realize why But number two, Half-Life 2, one of my favorite games of all time. One of the games I still go back and replay because it's on it's Xbox Legacy and you can play old Xbox 360 games on the Xbox One. And the subsequent sequels obviously, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, which were part of the Orange Box. Have you guys all played this game before I just start nerding out?
I've watched a playthrough, but that's kind of about it.
I did remember it, so then I had to go through and watch a playthrough.
Okay. And and with Half-Life Alyx just coming out too, it wraps up finally a little something in there that I'm not going to talk about because it'd be a spoiler. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have a VR, so I was so angry. I'm like, I'm not going to spend $1,000 just to play this goddamn game. I'm like, this is my favorite series, but I'm not going to fucking do it. I just can't do it. So I did watch a playthrough on that one. Anyway, Half-Life 2 and the Orange Box, which is chapters 1 and 2, the little mini sequels,
and Team Fortress.
And sure, yeah, Team Fortress was in there. I never got into it. A lot of people love Team Fortress. I know, big Steam community around that. But yeah. So it follows. Obviously, you had to have played Half-Life 1 to get into it. Half-Life 1, unfortunately, was kind of it. A lot of people love it. I'd love to go and play the the fan. Was it a fan project that remade it, Dan, recently? It's available for free, I think,
so.
somewhere.
Yeah.
I'd love to go and play that because the original was very janky. I remember playing it on the PC because there was no consoles when the first Half-Life came out, and I was like, whoa. Even for back then graphics, I was like, geez, this is not good. But yeah, you have to play through just to get the story, I guess, a little bit. Half-Life 2 took it to another level. I mean, City 17 is a big thing that you hear just in the zeitgeist. The Combine, the alien race that they led into the world to take over. I mean, the lore I talked about before. I love stories with lore, and that game has it chocked full of lore. Like I love going back and playing it again and again, and just seeing like what little things I could find, because there's always that kind of stuff in those games that you could just like look underneath a box or behind a wall or something and find something different. And then just the storytelling as well. I love going back, and even though I know what's going to happen, I just love the catharsis of it, being like, like, why? It has one of the biggest cliffhangers of all time for any video game that still isn't answered to this day because they haven't announced a sequel.
Hopefully
But
out because of like the hype from Alex. Yeah.
When it's coming. Those who have played Alex or watched him play through, we all are hopeful now after that because it got such a big reception from everybody. I just hope it's not VR because I want to be able to play it on a computer without a VR headset. But yeah, so what makes it replayable again? The story, the lore, the weapons in that game are the coolest. Like I think me and Matt talked about in one of our group chats one time of like the best weapons of video games, and the gravity gun was on the list because the gravity gun's like one of the coolest weapons.
Was
in
the
any game.
Was the BFG also a gun?
It was on that list. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But like even like I've never played Half-Life and I know about the gravity.
About the gravity gun.
Yeah, exactly.
I think if I recall, that was the game that like innovated having gravity guns in games. Like, a lot of games now will have gravity guns, and it's based off of the one from
what Valve.
Half-Life.
Yeah, the mechanics of that. Yeah, just being able to grab any object and use it as a weapon on somebody. Like
Ratchet and Clank had one like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. In later iterations. So just that, and then of course from that we got the spin-off of some of my other two favorite games, Portal and Portal 2, which it's a whole nother discussion, but amazing games as well. Those are also replayable. But yeah, the Half-Life 2 and its subsequent sequels, the Orange Box, second favorite of all time. So I guess we'll move on since you guys have not played. That's fine. You should. I mean, you definitely should.
There's so much that can be said about Half-Life 2 because Half-Life 2, I think, set the benchmark for games, like for so many games after that. Like in the era that Half-Life 2 came out, games were fun, they were enjoyable. But then Half-Life 1 and 2 come out, and like games became deep. They had a lot more to them than just run and gun, run in a circle with a blue hedgehog.
They started to become little movie, like elongated movies with gameplay in them. Like
they started having real storylines. They started having actual writing, real scripts, and they put more effort into all of that background lore and stuff going on than just going through and playing a game to play a game. They became more real and connecting to their gamers.
And they gave us a protagonist who's not the atypical gaming protagonist. It was a nerdy lab guy wore glasses and had a crowbar. Like that's all he was. Like he was, it was like you didn't see that back. Gordon Freeman is an icon now because of that. Like in an age where you were getting Master Chiefs and like fucking people Gears of War, it's like, nah, we're just gonna give you this guy who's a nerd. He just got caught in a bad situation.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Yep. It's just perfect. So, and yes, it's as of this recording still has not had a sequel announced, and it's been one of the biggest things of internet culture. I'm sure everybody's heard about release Half-Life 3, the hashtag, and they've had campaigns, Indiegogos.
It's like every time they have an announcement, every time Valve is like, we have a special announcement that we think we're all going to like, and everyone's like, Half-Life 3? And they're like, no, Steam has a friends
Steam
list.
controller, Like they love trolling them. They love trolling them. They love it.
They're fourth walling now with all their announcements. So like, hey, if you guys left Half-Life 1 and 2, wait for the next game that we have coming out. All right.
Yep.
Portal for the PSP. Yeah.
It's just cruel at this point.
It is. It really is. Even the most recent one where they're like, we have they came out of nowhere too with the Alex announcement. They're like, yeah, we're doing a new Half-Life game, and everybody's like,
Oh,
huh?
what? And they're like, yeah,
Like they just
no big
dropped it on
deal.
Twitter, like just one day, no PR.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And I was like,
They fuck
You
with
know?
their fans, dude. They screw
and then
with
they're
their
like,
player base.
and then like I think it was like a waterfall of tweets. They're like, it's a groundbreaking VR game, and we're like, okay, but is it what we want? And then it was like, it's Alex, and it's a prequel, and we're like, yeah, did it again.
But at least it was good. At least it was good.
At least it's closer to what you guys want though this time.
Yeah, I watched the
yeah.
whole playthrough of the thing, and it is fantastic. I wish I had a VR headset to play it, but whatever. I was just as good watching other people play it.
So what they'll probably end up doing is they'll probably, when they release Half-Life 3, they'll probably just drop it randomly. Like, all right, you guys can buy it tonight at midnight.
Valve is like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're really trolly. So we'll see. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on. Let's get our number ones out, or what we consider our number ones. And Dan, let's go with your number one replayable game of all time. We talked about it a little bit, I think, on one of the other podcasts we did recently, but it is, of course, Final Fantasy X.
All right, I will fist fight anybody. All right, about this game.
Are you good at fist fighting?
I will fist fight. I don't care if I lose the fist fight. You can bring a knife.
Hey, you guys did virtual elbow bumps. We're gonna virtual fist fight.
I could lose I could know I'm going into a fist fight losing over my argument that this is probably one of the best games ever created.
Wow.
This is the game that. So we talked about things like, oh, anytime like you go to get a new computer or something like that, you have to download this movie or whatever, have to own this movie with whatever thing comes out. This is a game that every time I get a new console, if it's available on the console, not Xbox, I buy it. I buy it.
What's
I buy
wrong
it.
with Xbox?
Yeah, because they don't have it.
Oh, God.
Yeah. The Xbox is the only one.
So
I think
I
Switch
can
has it.
borrow one of your copies then?
I don't have a PlayStation. I don't have a PlayStation. I have a copy of the game.
I think it's actually right now on sale on the PlayStation Store for like $20 for 10 and 10 too.
Yeah.
Come on.
We're not gonna talk about 10 2.
Okay.
No.
Okay,
No. Yeah.
It's $14.99 and 10 for 10 and 10 to the HD remastered on Steam.
But it's the best game of all time.
Yeah. 10 is not 10 2. No,
No.
that's you
That's
fell down the
different-
hill on that one.
Isn't that the one where it's got that
it?
laughing meme where it's like let's just get our laughs out, and so they just laugh.
No, that's in
really
the first. That's in
obnoxiously?
10. That's in 10.
Yeah.
I think. That's in 10.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Oh,
It's
yeah. Okay. So 10 was the first Final Fantasy game that had actual voice acting. That already blew people's minds. Like that was already like a big thing. They're like, oh my god, voice acting. And 10 here I had pulled up a thing. Like someone created like a one sentence sum up of all the Final Fantasy games, and Final Fantasy X was daddy issues, the real sports story with special guest Christian guilt complex. And like that sums up the whole story. So the story is you play as this character who I think is by far one of the best, most relatable protagonists in a video game I've ever had. Because all these other ones are super badasses, or like you have the nerd or whatever. Never for me, Titus, who the main character is, you can change his name, but it's Titus. All right, you're wrong if you change the name. He's this kid that he's a star athlete or whatever, and like the beginning has this the most epic intro ever. It's just this hardcore metal rock music playing, and he's playing a sport called blitzball, which is essentially rugby in water. And it's just a water sphere, and he's just this badass. He's the star player of his team, and he's just kicking butt. And giant monster appears, and he's just like, all of a sudden, the stadium gets blown up. He's trying to escape, and he's got to fight these little spawns from the monster, and then some random character appears, and he's just like, "Oh, I know you, random dude with a missing eye and a giant sword, wearing a kimono." Like, yeah, Orin, how's it going? And then all of a sudden, you get sucked up by the monster, and you get sent into this other world, and he has no idea what's going on. And the entire story, you play as this character that's just trying to understand, like, what is this world that I'm in? What's going on? And just kind of tags along. And the whole story is like, the people of this world, essentially Christian guilt complex. They all believe that they are sinners, and that this monster keeps getting sent every few years to basically wipe out some of the world because they deserve it. because they used machines. They call it machina. They're like, because we used like anti-god machines, essentially, which weren't anti-god machines. They were just machines not created by man and not by God. That they were like, oh no.
Right. So
And
basically, the guilt over being kind of like subverting nature
yeah,
with
and
machines.
so
Yeah.
they make you feel bad, and like there's a race of people in the world that use machina, and everyone's just like, you're heathens, and your characters like, why? Like they're trying to make life better, uh, and
Hmm.
like you go on this journey with a person called a summoner, whose sole job is to fight off the monster whenever he comes, and you're like, sure, your character's like, sure, but like what's going on? And the entire time he just doesn't care. He's just trying to do like the right thing, as he's trying to find out like how to get back home. And the story gets really sad like near the end, because you start finding a lot of it starts finally
Well,
like
don't. Yeah,
circling
don't spoil
around.
too much.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it at all, because like, you
Because I
really
may
need to
go
play.
back. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I played this one a little bit like way back in the day on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Where I think I spent like maybe like 10 hours playing it, and you were saying like you probably got about a tenth of the way through the game.
Yeah, nope. The game is definitely the new remastered versions. They've even added more content to it. So like now there's secret
Okay.
bosses you can fight or whatever, and there was already secret bosses that you can do. Like there's a lot of side stuff. You like the game is very linear for quite a while,
Yeah.
and then there's a certain point where it becomes like you can go wherever you want, do whatever you want, and you can even like find hidden places on a map and go to that place and find secret bosses and like top tier
Yeah.
gear and whatever. But the story starts out pretty lighthearted. You're on a journey, like a hero's journey, but your character's not technically the hero. It's the
Mhm.
person you're trying to protect the entire time. She's the hero that your character falls in love with, and you're just trying to protect her. And like the reason he's so relatable is because he's has no idea what's going on, but he's trying to remain positive about it all. And anytime someone tries to explain, well, that's how the world works, and he goes, well, fuck that. That's wrong. Like, just like, let's
Yeah.
not do that. Let's have fun. Um, let's save people and have fun. Like, no one has to die as long as we do our job, right? And he repeats this multiple times, and then the story gets really sad once they start tying all the loose ends up. And I, to this day, all right, so I mentioned the Pokemon movie. Right,
Yeah.
I've talked about how I cry.
You need a
I
good
to
cry.
I to this
Yeah.
day still think I cried more from the final scene from Final Fantasy X than I do the Pokemon movie. But I can't go
Wow.
through and play like 100 hours just to get to
Yeah.
that point.
No.
Well, just make sure you had your save file right before that portion of the game starts, and just never, don't save over it. Just always have that one save file.
And then like one other aspect about the game is like, yeah, you're playing a Final Fantasy game, but
Yeah.
then the reason that in that one sentence says like the real sports story is there's a mini game throughout the game for Blitzball where you can play Blitzball, and it's an actual sports game where you can go around the world, find other Blitzball
Yeah.
players, and you can recruit them to your team to make this maximized team and just win tournaments for no reason. Like you get a crap item really at the end of it
Yeah.
all. You get like nothing, but you had fun playing Blitzball and learning all these cool techniques. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah. Same thing like when you're playing Gwent in The Witcher 3. There's no real,
Yeah.
you know,
There's no
no
point,
real
but you just
thing.
get addicted to it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I to this day, that was the first game I ever actually got for myself. So like when my brother and I got the Nintendo 64, it was like our stepdad's and it was his games. But then when we got a PlayStation 2 and an Xbox, the first game that they got for me was Final Fantasy X. They had no idea what it was. I had no idea what it was. We didn't know if I was gonna like it. And I have played that. I think I've beaten the game at least 20 times. And mind you, it's like around
Wow.
it's around like 50 to 60 hours to actually beat the story if you just run through the story, which you never do. You can't.
Yeah.
You get distracted. You got shit to
Yeah.
do. You got other shit you want to do.
Yeah. So
Play
for the combat on the remaster for 10, does it play like how the remaster is for Final Fantasy 7? Because I'm actually kind of liking the combat for Final Fantasy 7, or is it still turn-based from the way it was
It's
originally?
turn-based. It's turn-based.
Okay.
They introduced a system called wait and active, and it's when they slowly try to drift away from turn-based because they know people wanted more active combat. And in Final Fantasy 12, they even do it more so. But it's styled to like the old Final Fantasy games where it's like they have their side, you have your side, you only have 3 party members, and you have your abilities you
Yeah.
can pick through. You can have it wait to where it's like when it's your turn, it's your turn. Your opponent can't do anything. Or you can have it to
Right.
active where you'll have like a gauge that's like, all right, when the gauge is active, then you can use a move. But during the whole time, like the opponent's still using moves. So like you have to be quick to go through each character's abilities like when it's their turn. Because if like you decide like, all right, I'm not going to do anything for 10 minutes, that boss is going to keep attacking. Whereas with wait, it can't attack until you make your turn. So it's not like chess or checkers. It's like active moving the entire time.
That sounds interesting.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really liking the way that they have the
Combat in Final Fantasy 7. It's
I
if you
do-
like that one,
it's-
you'll like Final Fantasy 15 then.
Okay, yeah, because I like that. And then the whole time I'm playing that, I'm thinking if they ever remade Knights of the Old Republic, I'd want this combat system in there because
Yeah,
it makes a lot more sense.
It's a very fun combat system, and like I said, if you liked Final Fantasy 7,
Okay.
the combat solely, then you'll like Final Fantasy 15, which Final Fantasy 15 is labeled a bachelor party goes very badly. That is
So it's the Hangover.
The Hangover. Yeah.
yeah.
Does
no,
anyone-
it is.
does anyone-
It straight up is. Final Fantasy 15, I really wanted on this list, but I feel like it was too new for me, and I had way more attachments to these other games that
Yeah.
I played way more. I played Final Fantasy 15 a lot. I played it several times over, but all these other games, I love them way more. I grew up with them. I think that's why I picked them. But you'll like Final Fantasy 15 if you like the new Final Fantasy 7. But
Only if
want
someone gets a face tattoo and there's a tiger in it. So
And Mike Tyson.
yes.
yes.
All right, awesome. All right, good pick.
Okay.
Good pick, Jen. Katie,
That's me.
you also have a very recent release for your number one. So you had two.
soon.
Yeah, I know, it's cool. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
I mean, it's kind of like all the other ones, like like so it's like it's like all it's old but like new at the same time. If it's a remaster, it counts as.
All right, so tell us why you love to play it so much.
You just like pick it up and play it wherever. It's literally like just everyone could play it at any time, at any point. You could do like the story, but really we're just gonna be there for just beating the shit out of each other.
Is there a story to Smash Brothers?
I don't know. I'm just kidding.
In Ultimate there is. There's a little story.
There's kind of like
Okay.
a
I
don't
think in
really
Brawl
know
they
if I
started
would
to
call it
introduce.
story, but
Yeah,
I'm
I think
just
in
gonna
Brawl
say
they started to
story.
introduce it. Adventure mode or whatever.
Yeah, but I didn't really do that one.
The trailer was literally like the shadow versions of the characters come and like take them away or some garbage. I don't know.
Interesting.
Rude. Anyways.
But that's not the reason you play the game. It's for the the multiplayer. The
Yeah,
fighting.
it's for the multiplayer, the fighting. Again, I'm not very good at anything, but it's easy enough to you could pick up where like a beginner could play it and they could have fun, or like a seasoned veteran tournament player could spend hours and hours with their main or like
Who's your main?
their choice, because each character, and there's a lot. Pikachu.
Really? Pikachu.
Yeah.
Pika Pika.
Anyways,
With the ash hat?
sometimes. Just so just to get that good cry,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Just really good cry. It's like there's not really like a lot to talk about. It's just like what it is. It's the the ultimate one where they have all the different stages and all the characters and all the unlockable characters you have to unlock, and
I think
don't really know.
I think to speak to what you talked about, it is easy to pick up. It's one of those kind of games where it's the learning curve is very low. You can figure it out like within a couple of games of playing it. And it's satisfying too when you like the combos and the ultimates are pretty satisfying. Like a good fighting game needs some like stylistic stuff like that, and they deliver on most of their characters. So yeah.
That's a game where like anytime I've gone over to someone's house for like a small get together, not necessarily a party.
Yeah, and it's
like a
perfect
get together,
for
someone has it.
It's a party
exactly.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a friend maker and loser.
Friend,
at the
yeah,
same-
friend is sure.
It's just
Friendship
very,
ender.
it's competitive
Yeah.
without being like, you'll have that one person who's like good, but like there'll be a chance where like a newbie could like maybe
Right.
beat
Beat
them.
'em, yeah.
Like
If you
they're,
use
like,
items like a bitch.
or like items. Yeah. Oh my god!
I'm just kidding.
Beginner.
I'm just kidding.
Someone
Man
is
is
salty
throwing
about getting their
down.
ass beat.
Totally.
I used to play competitively and was like one of the top players in the world for Melee and Project M, which was so like I'm a lover of Smash. So I
So,
love
like-
that you picked this game.
But I don't know. I just thought it's very like all inclusive, and like you could definitely replay it, and you can. It just has everyone. It has everything. That's the whole point of it.
My kid loves this game. It's his favorite game.
It's very memeable too. Like there's memes
all he
around where it's
plays.
like a new challenger approaches or whatever. and it's-
Right.
Yeah. And then
The
there's
shadow.
this one. There's one that was it's like casual sex implies that there's like ranked or competitive sex, and it shows like the screen for Smash Ultimate, which is like for fun or for glory. It's so
All
good.
right, well, some of us are in it for the memes. Other of us stays
When
for
am
the
I
gameplay.
never in it for the memes? All right,
True.
if it can't be a
True.
meme, then I can't enjoy it.
Okay.
All right.
Fair
So
enough.
there you go. There's Katie's number one, Super
Nice.
Smash Bros. Ultimate. All right, Matt. Let's move on to your number one. Also a very recent game. I think you
Yes.
both had the most recent of games for your top stuff.
Yeah. And I think when you're kind of asking like the ones that just are the most replayable games, I'm just constantly thinking really there's kind of the ones that I've already got that I can just spend forever in. And Red Dead Redemption 2 really is one of those games that you can just I can spend all day on this thing. Like sometimes I've had Saturdays, where I have my weekend off.
I know
work.
you've told me.
I'll wake up and I'll just start playing it, and I'm hunting and I'm fishing and I'm doing the when I'm online playing. That's all I'm doing really. I'm not really kind of going through like the little multiplayer matches. I'm just kind of chilling in the world, and it's great. Like I love it. Like I know somewhere in me is like this little country boy that just kind of likes the idea of kind of being in the mountains and kind of being on the prairie, kind of riding a horse and that sort of thing.
Everybody's nostalgic for the old times until you realize how they lived.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like, I'm not even saying that I have to go back
I'm
out
just
to like the
kidding. I'm just kidding.
1899 or whatever. But I'm saying like the idea of kind of being able to kind of get away from the city and kind of have those kind of environments. I mean, even just looking out the window and kind of seeing the mountains just kind of in the area. Like I'd like to see that without all the buildings around, and kind of having Red Dead kind of have that backdrop for me is just great. And then too, just the story overall. Like when you get through the story, it's such a really good story, and by the time you get to the end of it, you're just heartbroken. You're kind of like, dude, this is so good, and you kind of want to go through it again because you kind of hear like rumors like if you do this one thing differently, then the whole thing plays out differently. But yeah, I mean, just like Arthur, when you do your collections, if you wear a mask, you don't get TB, from what I'm told. And I kind of want to go back and play that and kind of see if that's true. But just Rockstar, I think, really kind of just knocked it out of the park with this one. I mean, even more than GTA 5 or anything. It's just I love just spending time in that game and in that world and just kind of doing the simplest of stuff. It's just relaxing. It's my catharsis. I don't know.
Yeah. Dan, just for reference, there's been nights where I'm like, hey, Matt, come watch our Twitch stream. He's like, nah, I'm just going to go fish in Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm like,
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised that I'm not surprised that was his pick, because he's brought it up. I think every podcast, every chance he gets, he's like, "Hey, have I told you about my Lord and Savior Red Dead Redemption 2 yet? Have I brought that up this podcast?" And here's the thing, Matt, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing because I love it. I think it's such a great game, and I understand why you want to talk about it because it deserves to just be praised. So I'm happy that you actually chose that as your pick, and I'm happy that you like all those times of it being mentioned. You're finally like, I get to actually talk about it. So
well, I think it was wasn't it like one of my game of the years, one of the last wrap ups or something? I think 2018 wrap up or something.
Well, we did it for 20. Well, we did it in December of 2019, but then you picked it, and I was like, that came out in 2018, man. He was like, you did it?
It's such a ubiquitous game for me. It's just I'm always just on it, and honestly, the two games really that when I had to choose, it was either The Witcher 3 or Red Dead to kind of because I don't have like exterior hard drive kind of, so I'm dealing with the 500 gigs constantly, so I'm always kind of I know I should, but I'm always kind of like
I just installed another one today.
Good for you. But I'm always kind of choosing which games to delete, so I can go ahead and play some other new game that I kind of like go through. And it came to a point where it's like Witcher 3 or Red Dead, and I kept Red Dead, and I'm just I love it.
Sweet. Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's wrap it up then. For my last one, and especially the remaster. This one also had a remaster like yours did, Dan, Final Fantasy. And I'm talking about my favorite game of all time, Halo 2.
Nice.
Yeah, Halo 2 with one of the best stories in the series and one of the biggest cliffhangers of any game as well.
Yeah.
I'm surprised no one else said that, actually.
Yeah, Halo
I
2.
played a lot of
I
Halo
mean,
growing up, but it just was not my game. I
That
was not a
was-
first-person shooter until recently.
Dude.
That was my game. Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
the first-person
I
shooter.
was. Yeah. It revolutionized.
I was gonna say it was like the first. Yeah.
Well, that, and then it built Xbox Live into what it is.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. But yeah, and Halo 2 was actually one of the first titles to launch Xbox Live, if I remember right. Yeah.
I think it was the only one.
It might have been the launch title for Xbox Live. Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, it is available right now as part of the Master Chief Collection. If you haven't gone and played it, you can get it for free if you have Game Pass, or
It's on
cheap.
Steam now.
And it's on Steam now. The remastered one is on Steam, which is one you should play because it's so much better. The graphics, they made it better.
Halo in general, the whole series is amazing though. Like
Yes.
like I said, it wasn't my game growing up.
Not 5.
I wasn't.
I did not enjoy 5. I'll put that out there.
Yeah.
Like I said, it wasn't my game. I had fun when I played them all. I did enjoy them, but I wasn't a first-person shooter person. I didn't like that growing up.
No Counter-Strike Go? Back in the day?
I never played CS:GO.
No?
Well, CS:GO is newer. See, Counter-Strike OG,
Counter-Strike.
Matt, is the one we used to play.
Yeah.
I
In
never
the,
played any
internet
Counter-Strike game.
cafes
Yeah.
But like even to this day, people are still playing Halo games. Like I think it's Halo Reach. There was an article that just went out.
Yeah, that's the competitive scene still. It's really
No, there's an article that just went out about players that like because there's so many hidden Easter eggs in the Halo games. They have so many cool like tricks and
Love an
hidden
Easter
stuff.
egg.
Yeah, like people hunt them down and communities are like all about it. And I remember this like Halo Reach had one where an article came out about these players that finally did this impossible jump where they found the hidden Master Chief statue. And,
wow.
which like
That's cool.
everyone had known about the hidden Master Chief statue, but they wanted to do better. They wanted to reach it. So there's this whole video of them going through this whole intense process of how to reach it. And it's like this is a game that came out over a decade ago, and people are still like just now being able to achieve something in this game. Like that's kind of gnarly, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the whole series as a whole, like you said, is ultimately replayable for me, except for 5. But 2 is the one that stands out to me because it was like, I don't know, it was the one that I got the most playtime in with my friends. Like that was that college years kind of for us, right, Matt? That was like, multiplayer was just becoming a thing, and it was like,
yeah.
oh,
Well,
this is awesome.
I'll tell you, I still have really, really fond memories of the 16 player hookup when you go over to Sean's house.
Well, the LAN parties.
The LAN parties were
LAN parties. Yeah.
Oh, because you're
too many.
This is back in the day when you get like you have your friends come over. They bring their own TVs. They bring their own Xboxes. You get your Ethernet cords all hooked up together. You guys set up in different rooms, and then you're pounding pizza and Dr. Pepper all night long, and you're just playing.
It's literally our generation made that meme, the gamer meme of the Mountain Dew and the Doritos.
Absolutely.
Like, that's where it came from.
Absolutely. And those were great times.
Yeah, it was good times.
So yeah.
But yeah, Halo 2, the whole Halo series, we got so many things out of it. Master Chief, obviously one of the most iconic game characters of all time. Cortana, it's literally on Windows desktop now as their fucking search engine. Like, it's insane how much this game is influenced, even across other games. Like Dan was talking about, like all of us were talking about. Like it was just revolutionary that it remade the way you thought about how a first-person shooter should work. And I think that's why they called the first one Halo Combat Evolved, because they like came up with this whole new system and way to like present a first person shooter. So I think that was revolutionary and cool. And I don't know, 2 was just the one that I think it was the one that introduced big team battle, and that was the one that was like, oh, you could have 60 players at one time.
Yeah.
What? No.
Was it the Spartan laser or whatever? That
Spartan laser? Yes.
Was that in 2?
Yeah, that was 2.
That was?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think Spartan laser and swords got introduced in 2.
Yep. Yeah, because that was the character. Yeah, you could play as the Arbiter, so that was the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah.
Still love it. Still love going and playing multiplayer. I still have it on my Xbox, and sometimes I'll just fire it up and see who's in those lobbies still, and be like, "Is it still as toxic as I thought?" Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Jesus.
People have adapted.
Well, now it's all the kids grown up, so their like voices are just a little deeper, like and
they've gotten smarter. They can get better with their insults. They can truly make it hurt. You're like, oh, I was adopted, and my parents are actually disappointed in me.
Oh my gosh! You mean he actually did fuck your mom?
He is my
He
stepdad now.
found my house. He really
Oh,
did.
God.
The dude actually became a computer engineer and tracked me down via
He
my
hacked
IP
me.
address.
I got DOSed.
Yeah.
I got
No,
doxed.
man.
Oh man, good times. So I think all of our games that made our list I think are highly replayable and they're worth checking out. Most of them are either on sale or like really cheap at this point, so it would be a really awesome thing for you to do. Still stuck indoors
Not
in
mine.
quarantine for a while. Not yours?
I don't think so. I don't
Oh,
think that,
Smash is probably still
I
full
don't
price.
think Smash or Breath
Yeah.
of the Wild would ever.
Breath.
I think the
Breath-
Breath of the Wild,
Breath of the
got
Wild
20
dropped
bucks,
a little bit. Yeah,
maybe.
I think it's like 30 maybe.
All
the
right,
new-
you stand corrected.
But yeah, either way, go check them out, guys. If you liked any of our picks, and they're definitely all worth it, I think, in my personal opinion. Obviously, we do. We put them on the list. So yeah, join us next time when we have a full episode of just really. You thought this was nerdy? Wait till we do the next one, which is going to be anime. So
Yeah.
Katie's gonna take over the show. I'm just gonna sit in the
I'm really
background and be
not
like,
ready for it. Okay, well, you had better watch something this week.
Oh, I have a lot.
That's your homework.
Watch
you have
something.
To, you have to watch something.
I've got plenty, and you probably won't even know them, so that's whatever. We'll see.
Okay,
Says
yeah,
you.
well, you probably won't even know them. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Katie's pushing up the
Okay.
glasses over here. Man.
Uh-huh.
and like the shine.
I know. Get the little tape on the little center bridge there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It makes it complete. Your
Yep.
transformation is complete. All right. So yeah, join us next time. We're going to be talking about our top animes of all time. And until then, you can go and find this podcast anywhere podcasts are distributed. Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio. And you can find the video on YouTube, youtube.com/thatgeekshow1. And besides that, we will be around. Find us all on the social medias at That Geek Show, on Instagram at That Geek Show. You can find me at Erik D. Lucas on Twitter and Instagram, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/erocker. You can find Dan.
Go watch this guy play.
Yeah, well, and you can find Dan as well, twitch.tv/razorwing, RZRWING.
Yeah,
We
go
are
watch
now
this
both,
guy play too.
We are now both full-time Twitch streamers, so
Oh my
There
gosh,
you go.
so good.
There you go.
Dan does a little bit more than me. I try to stream every day, but it's hard.
Are you
He's
breaking
streaming
away
right
from
now.
Is he?
probably?
Oh, amazing!
He's
Are
gaming
you-
right now while on the podcast.
All the
while
internet-
saying all the things.
No, I'm not streaming. I'm just playing right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Are you still
But he
playing
would
Valorant
be.
all the time?
Yeah, I know they're pissed right now because I'm not talking with them.
Uh,
There you go.
There you go. So yeah, check us out there. Matt is on Twitter. Matt Geek Show. If I remember.
Yeah, Mike Geek Show. Yep.
And Katie is
Yeah, I'm not-
sister cosplay. Yes,
She-
we're not doing that anymore. We gave up
we gave up.
on
So
the social media.
the link will be in the description on YouTube if you want to follow any of us. I'll put it in there. All right, guys. Until next time, stay geeky. Have a great geeky week. Wash your hands and stay safe.
Your hands.
Wash your hands. Wash your
look
butt.
like little